Welcome to this tutorial on how to use the Dremel printer. So first thing, you'll Google search Dremel Slicer, click on the link, and you'll scroll down and see that there's options for Windows and Mac. So choose the correct one and you'll see it download. Once it's done downloading, open it up. And then simply follow the instructions for the installer. So go ahead and pull up the software once it's done downloading. If you're setting up the software on your device for the first time, you'll want to follow these steps. So go ahead and go to the drop-down button, Add Printer, and click on Dremel 3D45 since that's the printer that we have in Driftmeyer. You'll see right here, since I've already used the software on my device before, there's a duplicate, so I can just go to Manage Printer and click on Remove after selecting the duplicate, and it should remove it. Alright, now your software is ready to be used. To import your 3D model, you're going to go to File, click on Open Files, select your 3D model, and click Open. Dremel Slicer supports STL, OBJ, and EMF, but you can always double check by Googling. To give myself a better view of the object, I right-clicked and dragged to rotate the screen, and I also used the scroll bar to zoom in and zoom out. After clicking on the highlighted icon you see, you can move your object around either in the X direction, Y direction, or the Z direction. You can move the object either using the arrows, or you can type in the coordinates for the object. To scale the object, you can click on the scale icon highlighted. You can see here. To scale the object, you can put in percentages or you can put in specific dimensions in millimeters. An important thing to note is if you check uniform scaling, the scaling will happen in the X, Y, and Z direction whenever you change one dimension. But if you uncheck uniform scaling, the scaling will happen only in the direction that you changed. With snap scaling, basically what happens is it allows you to scale the object in increments of 1% when you're dragging the line, but if you're still putting in the percentages and actual dimensions, it doesn't really do anything. So now I'm just going to show what I just talked about. Rotating function has a few options you can choose from. There's the lay flat option, You can also choose to reset the model to where it'll go back to its original position when you imported the model. And then the snap rotation helps you rotate your model in increments of 15 degrees. So if you uncheck the snap rotation option, it'll increment the rotation in 1 degree. So another important thing to note is that when you're rotating your object, the slicer automatically tries to place the model where it will be above the plate and on the plate. So the mirror function right here is pretty self-explanatory. As you can see, when I click on the arrows, it flips in different directions. This eyeball icon down here lets you view the model in different modes, such as solid, X-ray, or layers. Right-clicking the model gives you many options, including duplicating the model. You can also right-click and choose to rearrange the positions for all the models so they can be lined up and be more organized. There's also a clear build plate option if you don't feel like going through all the parts and deleting them. And there's also a center selected model, which is pretty self-explanatory. We're almost done setting everything up. So one important thing to note is you must select the correct material. If you click on the drop down and select Dremel, you can see a list of materials that you can use for your 3D model. And then another important thing is the quality of your model. So medium quality is most recommended. If you click on the drop down, there's different options. High speed is usually if you're in a huge time crunch, and ultra quality, which is usually not necessary for student project, is for very high quality. Infill, if you highlight your cursor over them, it'll give you descriptions, but usually around 20% infill is recommended. And then generate support must be checked because sometimes if you print something without support, it might collapse, just to make sure that the parts print out correctly. And build plate adhesion helps keep the part in place as the printer's printing it, and also sometimes it helps with removing the part off from the plate. Alright, so now we're ready to prepare the model. The slicer is going to slice it into a file in which the printer can actually read. And then right here, you'll see the time, you'll see the amount of material that will be needed, and the dimension of the object. So now we save to the removable disk, and right here you'll see the name of the file. That's going to be important when you choose the file on the 3D printer. And now we're going to move over to the actual printing. So before you start your print, you want to make sure that the printer has the right material. You'll want to insert your USB drive right here. And also, before you start your print, you want to check that the bed is clean, that you have enough filaments for your part. And also, if you look right beside the printer, you'll see right here that there's a glue stick that you can use. And what you're going to use for that glue stick is you're going to put a thin coat of glue on the printing bed, so that way when your print is done, it'll be easier to remove. And also, it'll protect the printing bed. Now you can press build, select the USB icon, and select your G-code file for your part. Once you've selected that, press build again, and the printer will start copying your file to the printer. The printer will now be calibrating, which basically means that it will try to level the bed just to make sure that the print will print out correctly. The printer will also start to preheat. Now that the G-code file is on the printer, you can just remove your USB drive. If there ever comes a point where you need to pause your print to look at it, you can just press the pause button like you saw what I did. Wait for the bed to lower itself. Open the door, you can look at the print. Just don't try to modify it or take it off. And then once you're done examining it, you can press resume. The printer will preheat again and then prep itself to resume printing. Once you're done, remove your part from the bed, press accept, and clean the bed with damp paper towel. So what do you do if the filament breaks? Take a look right here. You see that the filament, it's broken off, and there's a piece of filament stuck in the hole. So what you're gonna do to solve that problem is you can go to Filament, change filament. So the direction says cut filament, but since the filament is already broken off, we don't really need to do anything. So you can just click next and wait for the nozzle to heat up. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Alright, now that the nozzle is already heated up, you're going to take the piece of filament and you're going to push the piece of filament that's stuck in there down, and then take the longer piece of filament and push inward until you can start to feel the nozzle pulling on the filament. And sometimes if the piece of filament that's stuck is longer, you might have to push that piece into the hole first and then take the longer piece of filament and push it in. After clicking next, you'll want to look at the filament that's being extruded out of the nozzle and see if the new color is coming out. And once you see the new color, press done. And the printer will start to detect what type of filament. The nozzle will move to its original position. Click accept if the material is correct. Pull out the remaining extra filament